Okay, howdy howdy. This is Troglodyne, and we are here with Troglovlog episode 1. I'll let you take it away, my dear brother.
All right. So essentially, what I want to talk about today is sort of why I decided to actually do this whole entrepreneurship thing. Uh, Aside from obvious reasons of good point where I can actually do that with my life, I can choose to do things that make me more free rather than more rich right at the moment. Uh, the other thing is that I've started to realize that as an employer and as an employee, you're actually better served by doing the sort of contractor and contract writer sort of relationship, the arm's length sort of relationship that you expect from two firms doing business with one, right? So, for starters, as a person who contracts with other people to get some kind of program done, right? Uh, you can choose to do employees. You can choose to cultivate that and have a sort of large staff of middle management and a bunch of different people under you that are fully loaded costs with, say, insurance. You got to do withholding, and you got to have unemployment insurance, and all those sorts of things that make all these firms like Insperity, or there's another one of them up in Dallas. I can't remember what it's called.
ADP.
Yeah, ADP, and there's just tons of these staffing firms essentially that all they do for a living is take that big bureaucratic nightmare off your head of this essentially yet another type of monkey suit is really all that an employment contract is. Because if everybody actually was really thinking ahead, they'd all be getting LLCs because then they could get super great deductions and stuff like that. No, instead, an employment contract is like it's even worse than a sole proprietor for you as an employee, but and also as a business person who's hiring employees, it's a lot worse for you than if you 1099 your employees. But the only problem with that is, the courts really hate the idea of 1099s and they want to do duck rule prosecution like that. When the fact is, if you just are two firms doing business with each other, there's no 1099 involved. It's, here's a contract, bam, cash in hand. Everybody knows the relationship right away. There's incentives that are lining up towards performance of the contract. Right? When, on the other hand, if you have management, their incentives are not necessarily going to be aligned with actually achieving goals you want to as a businessman. Right? So most middle management, really what they want to do is not rock the boat. They want to not have any kind of failures. They don't want to lose face. Is essentially like the big thing most managers concern themselves with all the time. And the way that they do that usually is via the sort of phenomenon that is really old in the computer world, which is like nobody ever got fired for buying IBM, which is essentially just the most conservative possible approach you can do to things, which frankly is a colossal waste of money. And this is everywhere in corporate America, basically. There's sort of this spinelessness and unwillingness to take risks that brings the cost level of almost every project all the way up to the very tippy top, way beyond what is actually justified by what the project actually is. And the time also ends up eating an entire amount of time allocated.
Well, right, and that's kind of part and parcel of a poverty mindset that a lot of people have, where they see the risk of loss as part of their ego investment due to their upbringing, due to other
Yeah,
situations
they
in their
don't want to
life.
be a loser.
Yeah, they well,
They
it's
want to
not
be a winner.
no.
By winner, I mean they're a not loser.
Right, right. They're playing not to lose.
Yeah.
Um, and that avoidance of loss, it blinds you to opportunities.
Yeah, a
There's
lot
the
of times
problem.
it makes people just not play at all, right? And so that's sort of what I see a lot of the phenomenon you see in corporate America, like sandbagging nonstop on estimates, it, asking for quality standards that are like impossible with the deadlines given, stuff like that that just like happens routinely, and then everyone just wonders magically, ooh, why is it that all these software projects fail all the time? It's pretty obvious why they fail because nobody really understands that the incentives here are not built to produce working software. What they're here to do is to reinforce these mental models in the middle management and in the employees themselves, to satisfy ego investments in, I'm a good little worker, I'm a good manager, my teams are no trouble, they do their best, and all that kind of nonsense.
I'm doing my part.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. I'm a good little soldier, and we're all saving the world. No, you're not. You're wasting money, is what you're doing. Okay. And if you had hired a contractor who knew what they were doing, and had a good reputation and all those things, what would happen is, if they fail, you just stop paying them and you move on. If they succeed, you're happy. And yes, the monetary cost is probably going to be higher up front. But guess what? You got a dependable outcome because that's who these people are. The people who succeed, they are very dependable. And that sort of segues into the other side of the coin, which is, why is this good for the individual worker? And that has to do everything with building of brands, right? So why people hire contractors is almost all about, what is their personal brand? What is the brand of their firm? What is their reputation, right? Reputation is literally king stuff. Um, if you do not have the reputation for dependability and skill, you will not get ahead as a contractor or as an independent operator at all. And so a lot of people, when they're doing this whole employee gig for a long time, I did this for a decade and a half, right? So they don't understand that their brand, every time they hop from firm to firm, is essentially burned right to the ground. Now you're going to have to spend a bunch of years rebuilding a reputation with a bunch of people that you don't know at all, and that all that effort you put into a firm to build your reputation, to build your skill, to build your dependability, nobody else is going to know that, and no one is going to care. When the fact is, if you had been a contractor and you had sort of been out in the public sphere, all of that would be public knowledge. In fact, you would be tooting your horn, you would be putting videos on YouTube nonstop about what you're up to, and success stories. All those sorts of things would build your brand, and your brand would stay with you, and it would keep getting stronger, and you would keep doing better, instead of, oh, I lost my job, now I'm screwed. No, okay? That's the thing. A lot of people think that this whole, I have an employment contract, means I'm going to be stable. No, actually, that makes you more of a roller coaster because you don't control your brand. Okay? That's the big show, is that when an employment contract is essentially you saying that I am foregoing my brand. And frankly, I don't think that any skilled programmer or any person with real skills should ever agree to that contract, right? I mean, if you're learning, as treating corporations as the training institute is definitely the way to go, because you need to learn skills, you need to get your chops, you need to learn how to deal with these corporate people, because guess what? They're going to be your clients, right? But at some point, you have to build your brand, because you will be stunted if you. And so that's sort of what I'm doing here. I'm going to be trying to I'm going to try to put out videos every day, and not stutter and have all these sorts of things that make me sound like I'm actually a YouTube poop, right? Uh, and anyways, so the whole point of why people do this hustle economy stuff of, I'm a streamer, I do YouTubes every day, I do educational content. All this is showing I can show up every single day and deliver value. I don't care what it is. I can do it, and I have the work ethic, and I am dependable, and that's my brand, okay? I know what I'm talking about, and I can just get it done.
Well, and like nowadays, that can be even more valuable to you than even a college degree, because much of what a college degree tells people is that I can show up for 4 years straight. I can show up for this sort of thing. Whereas, not only does producing content, showing people what you're about, what your shtick is, what your skill is, that you can talk, you can expound your ideas with erudition, that sort of thing. It makes it to where, not only like having a college degree, you show that you can do the work, but it also shows you the content of the work. It's not just saying, oh, I have this degree that says, oh, yeah, I can do accounting and shit. It's one of those, well, but what are you good at for the accounting and shit?
Yeah, and that sort of brings me to my other point, which is relevant for programmers, and why degrees actually can be not as useful as you want them to be, is that a lot of programmers, they just think that their sort of like public resume and their brand is the code they have on GitHub, that their products will stand by themselves. They don't. Okay? The big problem is all of your clients out here, all of the people who are going to hire you as an employee, none of them can code. It is all gobbledygook. They have no idea. Okay? They have no idea how useful any of this stuff is. They've never seen the life changing and like industry and company changing effects of the programs you've written. I mean, I've written programs that have literally saved or made millions of dollars for companies. Okay, any programmer worth their salt has literally done this. But the fact is, they're not going to know that most of the time. Number one, because it's private, behind some whatever. But the other thing is that they can't read code. They have no idea. They're just taking your word for it, right? While on the other hand, if you're doing this stuff of videos every day, you're doing this whole displaying higher value thing. You've got the sort of business Instagram that's showing that you're doing all these things that people expect you to be doing, and you're playing house in the right way people expect you to do, and you are being congruent with the vision of what they want to hire, right? Then it is not a really hard sort of sell, right? So that's the big show, is that what you're going to be seeing from us going forward is content, content, content. A lot of it's going to be programming related. Some of the insights we've gotten writing TCMS and other things over the years to make your programs a lot simpler, because that's sort of what Troglodyne's about. Simple, 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 simple. Uh, Anybody can write a complex program to solve a problem. It takes work to make one that's simple, reliable. Less moving parts is always better, and most people never even get to that level of thinking. The other thing that probably talk about a lot is some sort of these corporate phenomena and business world phenomena, and things that you as a programmer or as somebody sort of uh, thinking about entrepreneurship or something like this are going to end up coming through. A lot of this is just because I have nephews, I have other people coming up, I have other friends that they want to know a lot about these concepts, because they themselves are interested in these fields, and they need to learn some of this stuff. And
And bro, like the amount of interest that I have been seeing lately regarding like getting into the programming space, getting into whether it's corporate or doing like contracts themselves, the interest is higher than ever. Like people, men these days, they are leveling up. They want to make the money. They want to stop being losers, man.
yeah, and really the very best way for you to do that right now, in my opinion, is to learn to program. And that's because of two things. Number one, no regulation in this field. You don't need to take a test, you don't need a license, and the users of your product don't need licensure, they don't need inspection, they don't need any of this stuff. But nevertheless, the field is still basically like the trades. Okay? All you really need to do to excel is you need to find a master, you need to find somebody who knows how to program, apprentice under them, do work with them, and I can guarantee you within 6 months to a year, you will know everything you need to know. You will have it down pat, and you will be able to start just slamming it out and making yourself a lot of money. It's just the fact is, almost all the good programmers are locked up in these corporations, and these corporations would never once think about ever allowing them to take an apprentice, which is bizarre to me in many ways, but not really shocking when you consider the way labor and employment laws are, because they essentially think that, oh, that intern, he's going to be some kind of labor trouble for me down the road, or a traditional apprenticeship is just, no, that's a kind of risk we can't take, because that's how these companies work. They don't want any kind of employment lawsuits.
Well, and it's kind of funny because, like, de facto, this is what actually winds up happening at some companies where they have a department that's like, say, our quality assurance department, where in many ways you see a lot of those guys level up to development. And, well, why is that? Well, because they task them with writing automated tests. Well, how exactly do you write an automated test if not learning how to program? And guess who's good mentors for that? I don't know, real developers?
Yeah, and you'll see things like training departments pop up, and this whole phenomenon of I've got a junior programmer, a double junior bacon programmer, and a triple triple programmer. You know, that's actually the people who know what they're doing. And if you were talking about like the trades or a contract house, this is somebody who you would actually be doing business with because they know what the hell they're doing, and you can any really talented programmer can not only do it in basically any language because the concepts are the same everywhere. Okay, it's just different little magic words you got to say to make the thing work. And then beyond that, they can do almost any concept because half the time they've done most of it, and then the other half of the time it's like, look, I've already figured out these other half of the things that I need to do. I can figure out the rest of them.
Yeah, I mean, you only do map and reduce so many times before you figure it out, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I think it probably takes around 3 or 4 years for most programmers to finally get exposed to lambda calculus and start to realize that they can see through the matrix and they just understand that it's all the same stuff. That computers are not really magic in any way. It's all the same.
Wait, you meant it was always math?
Yes, it always was. That's that moon meme, right? Yeah. Well, anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the stream today, and we'll hopefully have some more topics for you coming on Monday. See y'all guys later.